Welcome to the Kingdom Calls podcast, where we look forward to this week's Garveys SuperValu Senior County Championship final, featuring Dingle and Austin Stacks. So we're going to have a small look back on the two semi-finals, and we'll have a minute and surgical look into what's going to happen on Sunday. Now, with me, I have three very distinguished gentlemen, but none of them as distinguished as me. There was a best dress prize earlier. I thought somebody told me there was a prize of a trip to Nashville with the block. And I thought, but I won it anyway. And anyway, we'll turn now to John O'Dowd here at great expense, all the way from Rathkeale this afternoon, the Connolly game. He now has a warm cup of tea and he's as happy as his cat. How are you, John?
Not too bad, Murt.
John Kennedy, he drove through so much traffic today after selling 16 fireplaces, right? None of them that burn normal fuel. John is, of course, a holder of a number of All-Ireland medals, 3 in fact, and he has never won the Novice Championship in North Kerry though. John, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Murt.
And back at
by popular demand.
And by popular demand, all the way from John Mitchell's, I'm told, now, is Clive O'Callaghan, the inventor of number 31. Clive is involved with underage teams, academies, things like that. So very knowledgeable, although listening to him at times, you wouldn't think so. Clive, you're very welcome.
Cheers, Murt.
Right, and he's a great judge of a referee as well, by the way. Now, we'll have to look into this, lads. Are you surprised, number one? John, are you surprised that we have a final with Austin Stacks and Dingle, two club sides, and we haven't a divisional side or a district side in the final?
I suppose the first thing is if you went back to the night where we were there for the quarterfinals of the club championship on a very windy night in Austin Stack Park when Dingle were first beaten by Nagale, and then Austin Stacks lost to Rathmore afterwards. I'd say if you put a bet down that night that those two teams would have gone all the way to the county championship final, you'd have a suit like that, Murt. But no,
expensive.
In fairness, you got to give Darragh Long and Padraig Corcoran massive credit, and the groups of players and management teams. They really took advantage of the 5-week break that they got by not getting to the semi-finals or final of the county club championship. And I think even though Dr. Croak showed last year that you could win both, the tighter schedule this year made it next to impossible, I think, to do the double that Dr. Croaks did. So you could say that it was a bonus for Austin Stacks and for Dingle to go out of the club quarterfinals, because it also gave them an opportunity to see what was going wrong and to give players a chance to get fit, to give other players a chance to get in form, because they were two different teams by the time the Bishop Moynihan Cup started.
Yeah, John Kennedy, what do you think? Obviously, you'll be surprised as well. I've heard you on Terrace Talk, and some of your predictions are way off the mark. Would you think that really, when you look at what Crokes did last year, it was some achievement to win the club and the county, because as John said, it's almost impossible. And these teams have got players back from injury and had the break, and now in the quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals, they've come up trumps.
Yeah, I suppose more you look at two different scenarios. What Crokes did was an amazing achievement, because two difficult competitions to win. You need that consistency, and they did that. You look at Dingle, they were hampered by injuries this year. The club championship, they were missing 5 or 6 players, and that 4 or 5 weeks gave them the opportunity to bring these guys back at their own pace. And I think there's great credit due to the management team for the way they managed it. When they did come back, Tom O'Sullivan, Dylan Conor-Ganey, that they were fit, maybe not match fit, but that their injuries were behind them, and it was a matter of just building up the fitness and the stamina then. And they've done that. And then, of course, the injection of Mark O'Connor was huge last weekend. An incredible performance by him. On the other hand, you look at Austin Stacks, disappointed, like John said, to lose in the club championship. They went and did a bit of rethinking, and they changed. They brought in youth. They put the emphasis on, particularly I think Ben Murphy in the middle of the park. Daniel Kirby starting, but they will say dropped or rested a number of their regulars and went with the youth, and I think it has kind of been a big victory for Darragh Long and his management team. We all know the talent that they have, we all know the numbers they have, but sometimes that can be a problem, and just to manage it and to get the formula and to get the format right, and they certainly have done that. And I think the game against Kinmare was a defining game for them. We spoke about the Kinmare defence against North Kerry, teak tough, very hard to breach. But Stacks did it in what was a very good game. They were level maybe 10 or 12 minutes to go. They kicked on. That was a good sign of a young team. And of course, again, they're led by Joe O'Connor and Ben Murphy in the middle of the park, who've been exceptional, really.
Yeah. Clive, would you think also, though, that as good and all as Dingle played and as well as Austin Stacks played on the Saturday, that their opposition didn't show on the day? Rathmore certainly were only a pale shadow of the team who knocked out East Kerry, and then they lost Paul Murphy at half time. That seemed to affect them greatly. And then Mid Kerry never really got going on Sunday until the final 10 minutes, when they did rally and almost snatched an equalising goal. But overall, Dingle were, deserving winners and the better side. But, Mid Kerry had been touted as, a team that could go on and win it. Now that East Kerry and Crokes were out of it, they didn't deliver, and neither did Rathmore. How do you think that played into the scenario?
Yeah, I suppose starting with the game on Saturday, I watched that game from the terrace and watching teams warming up. There was a ferocious breeze and blowing into the scoreboard goal. Now, Stacks had that in the first half, and, you would have said, a 4-point breeze. It was probably more than a 4-point breeze. Looking at it,
minutes, it was 4-all.
It was 4-all.
Yeah.
And even though the score was 8-4 at half time, it was the way Stacks got to 8-4 in the last 2 minutes with the 2-pointers and the lift. And we've seen that in games now where the hooter is gone and the team set up a play and they get a 2-pointer. When the whistle went for half time, the Stacks player sprinted off the field in Fitzgerald Stadium after Joe O'Connor got the second 2-pointer. And that pushed it out to 8-4. Now, in the numbers, it wasn't a big gap, but the body language going off at half time, it was all positive by Stacks. I thought Rathmore were flat on the day overall. They had a big win the week before against East Kerry, and they just seemed flat on the day. Never really, fired a shot. Yeah, Paul Murphy went off at half time. I still think Stacks were going to have the upper hand in the second half anyway. But I think it was the way they got to 8-4 sucked the life out of Rathmore. And in fairness to Rathmore, Stacks got the goal. They rallied with John Moynihan's goal. But I just think overall, Stacks were well worthy of their win. In fairness to Mid Kerry, they were 8-2 up. Not doing a whole pile wrong. They look comfortable. But the one thing that was noticeable was that even at 8-2, there was no panic in Dingle. Yeah. There's no panic on their management team. Everything was calm. They, played themselves into the game, and you always knew that if one of the Garveys got a sniff, they were going to get a goal, and it played out like that. And they went in the point up at half time. So, in fairness to Mid Kerry, maybe they probably look at a couple of things in the first half. They probably had banked on, leaving Billy O'Connor free, that he mightn't hurt them as much as the Garveys. And it was obvious when it was 11v11 and a set play that they were putting an extra man to cut out the Garveys, and Tom Sullivan's runs through the middle, and Billy got space, and Billy chipped in with 2 points. So that probably knocked their game plan, a bit as well. Gone from 8-2 up, they would have been saying, they should have kicked on. But, Dingle's experience, as just talking off air there, that, you know, I'm looking at the team from the 2021 quarter final. There was 12 of those started last Sunday. And the 3 that didn't start, Barry Dan is obviously injured. Mikey Gainey is still in the panel, and George Durant. So they're the same players, but they're a different team. They're a mature and an improved footballing team from then to now.
Yeah, Jonathan, we had, I suppose, the chance of visiting both camps. Obviously, with there was no big media nights because of just the 1 week turnaround, not 2 weeks, which I think is wrong. I'd like to see that change, number one, but we can talk about it maybe later. But we were with Stacks on Sunday night, and we were in Dingle on Monday night. Sandwiches are very nice in Dingle, I felt. And what did you get from both camps? What did you feel talking to Dara? Well, we did. I don't think you spoke to Colin, but we spoke to Greg Horn, vastly experienced despite he's still not 30 or just around it now. What did you get from the Stacks? What was the feeling you left?
I don't think either of the press nights told us anything that we didn't know already about both camps. They're in a confident frame of mind. They're happy with the way the campaign has gone for them so far. They've got 3 back-to-back victories each. In general, while they might have the odd injury worry, they're happy enough with their squads. They're happy enough with the options that they have to come off the bench. I think, like, if you go back 5 or 6 weeks ago, like, everyone would have said East Kerry and Dr. Crokes are the 2 favourites to win the county championship, possibly followed by Mid Kerry as 3rd favourites. And then you could make up your mind about a plethora of teams as regards 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. But this is an opportunity. Let's not beat around the bush here. East Kerry and Dr. Crokes won't be out of the picture every season by the time it gets to the semi-finals and final. So for all 4 teams that were in it last weekend, the chance was there to go all the way. Now those 4 teams are reduced to 2. And either Austin Stacks or Dingle are going to be lifting that cup on Sunday. And while both will have respect for each other, neither will necessarily fear the other. Like, on any given day, both Dingle and Stacks would feel that they could beat each other. So it's really, I think it's a great final to look forward to. It'll be a great atmosphere. The chance is there for both of these teams to make history in different ways. Like, you're talking about Dingle, after 3 final defeats in the last 13 years, are trying to bridge a gap for the town since 1948. Obviously, they had players involved with West Kerry when they won titles. But then for Stacks, like, you're talking about a team that were relegated to intermediate 3 years ago, didn't get out of it straight away, only became intermediate champions last year, and now straight away within 12 months they're in a senior final. Like, I don't think that's got enough credit so far, nor has, on the other hand, Dingle coming back after losing that final last year, when for maybe 40 minutes they were probably the better team against Dr. Crokes.
Yeah. John Kennedy, if you compare and contrast, obviously Dingle were beaten in the senior county final last year by Crokes. Crokes made a very good final 20 minutes, John alluded to there, and those goals are killer goals. And Dingle were obviously very disappointed. And around the same time, but then it had to be delayed because there was a replay. I mean, Lone Rangers could have won the first day. The second day, no, it didn't matter because Stacks were the better team. But Stacks are playing intermediate final. 12 months later, they're in a senior final. I mean, if you were grading horses, you'd be saying that's too big a jump for a team to go from intermediate to a senior final and expect to win it against a seasoned team who, as John said, have been in 3 finals, beaten in 3 finals since 2012. How do you see that working out?
Yeah, I think that it's a fair point. And at that, like John said there, I think they're not getting enough credit for where they're at the moment, because they're probably ahead of their time for an outsider looking in. Mm-hmm. But like Darragh came in there, and you know, he's through the county league and the club championship, you know, he varied his team, he made changes, and he felt he needed to improve it further, and there was areas he needed to improve on, you know, to be at the top table. And I think the balance of the team now at the moment is pretty good, and you know, you can't underestimate the county players. Armin Heinrich is having a great campaign. You know, he's showing the ability that he has and the experience he's got from being in with Kerry. He mightn't have got much game time with him, but you know, you're marking the best players in the county inside in training in Kerry, and you go into a county championship, and you know, there his composure on the ball, and you add Joe Connor in, who's having a phenomenal season. You know, and like Clive said earlier on, when he kicked the point the last day, he took off in a sprint to the dressing room. It was incredible, and he was followed by the rest of the lads. It was, you know, it showed we mean business. The body language of Rathmore was the opposite. They just went in with their heads down. But everybody knows the up and coming talent that Austin Stacks have. It's been spoken about for a few years, winning under 20s, getting to minor finals. Yeah. But it's about, there's a big step up, and that's where the management come in, and that's huge credit due to Darragh Long for getting them up to that and getting to county final. And you know, they're there on merit. There's great tradition about them, and certainly, like John said, both teams will respect each other, but there'll be no fear going into it. Both teams will feel they can win it. I think it's probably a must-win game for Dingle because of the experience they have and having been there. But that doesn't mean that they won't win it. But it's going to be. It has the ingredients of being a cracker.
Yeah, Clive. The way Darragh Long explained it to us the last night was that there was a team there for the county league, and he felt indebted to them for what they did. So he played them in the club championship. There were lads who went to AZ and J1s, there was lads returning from the inter-county scene, and there was younger lads who were tied up with the under-21 team playing in the inter-county and playing with the club team who went on to win it. And he just felt that everybody had to earn their place and they had to wait. And okay, they didn't advance in the club championship, but then when it came, you know, having played, he said, a good few challenge games, seeing the boys that were, you know, raring to go, and he then picked his team for the senior football championship based on what he had seen in training, the challenge games, etc. And now he's come at the right mix. I think that was a very good explanation of what actually happened.
Yeah, and you know, it's a fair reflection of what we've seen transpiring over the last couple of weeks. You know, we're looking at their team and their list of subs, and then they have an extended panel that you'd see on the programme of 45 or 7 players. There's 7 lads in that extended panel who've played Kerry Minor for Kerry. Now, I don't know, is there any other club in Kerry or the country that would have 7 lads who've recently played Kerry Minor and not in your 30 squad of players? And you know, Dylan Casey's not in that squad either. So it's a phenomenal job and a hard job to keep them all happy. But it looks, what he's saying, you know, the evidence is there. They obviously went away in that 5 or 6 week break, and their in-house games must have been hot and competitive because a new team has transpired. Yeah. And you know, you're looking, you know, and them look lads had knocks as well, the likes of Greg and Jack O'Shea. You've Shane O'Callaghan on the bench, Darragh O'Brien's on the bench. You know, there was no automatics come county championship time. It looks like that they went with the guys in form, and you know, whether you had 1 county championship medal or 2 county championship medals, or you had played with Kerry, Joey Nagel's still on the bench. You have an All-Ireland senior medal.
That puzzles me actually, Joey Nagel being on the bench.
Yeah, but it just didn't cut the ice. That whatever went on in that 5 or 6 week gap, and the lads that were in form started, and you can see. I know it's been a 3 week campaign, but it's a settled team the last 3 games, and subs that are coming on are the lads who are coming on the week before. So they've kind of settled on that 20 who were obviously the guys that were putting up their hand and didn't care for reputations or honours won, and that's the way it's played out.
And it's that's the best scenario for a manager and for squad camaraderie and team spirit. If a group of players knows that you're in the team because your performances, whether that's in training or in the previous match or in the challenge matches, have forced you onto that team, that it's not about the names, it's not about the history, it's not about potential, it's about what you're actually doing at that period in time. If a group of players sees that and they see that there's no favourites, you get unbelievable buy-in. Like Clive will probably be able to explain more because, and John, they've still been working with teams this year. But that is the perfect scenario for a manager, because they can look at him and they'll say, look, he's brought this guy in, and this guy wasn't near the 24 even 6 weeks ago, and now he's starting because of what he's done. So we can do that as well.
I'll put one to you as well, John O'Dowd, again, because you were in Dingle and we were trying to trying to pick Jim Garveys' brain, which is difficult at the best of times, almost impossible, on Paul Ganey. Now, Paul Ganey played, I saw him going down at one stage, he moved to the wing, he brought Mike Breen with him, it just passed off as being tactical, but he didn't, I think he took one free early on and it didn't go over the bar, he didn't score. Paul, I mean, you have the stats as the leading points takers, he's right up there, but he didn't score. Paul Ganey not scoring for Dingle in a game is as rare as John Kennedy buying you a point if you were out with him. Like, it is a real rarity. Now, the problem is Paul Ganey being okay the next day? Obviously, we're not in the medical room and Dingle, we don't know. And then Conor Ganey playing with that right knee heavily strapped. He scored one, was it 1-4, 1-6?
1-6.
1-6. I mean, if he was to have any reaction to that injury, my point is Dingle don't have the strength and depth on the bench, I don't think, that Stacks have. And any injury today would have picked up last Sunday with a 7-day turnaround is going to hurt them big time.
Yeah, like the short gap between fixtures is making it difficult for everybody, for players, managements, even for spectators.
But Clive?
It is tricky. Paul Ganey's going to play on Sunday. I don't think there's any question of that. I thought, and John was with me, I think there've been a lot of rumours since about injuries and whatever, but I think it was one of the most unselfish pieces of play that we've seen from the talisman of a particular team that we've seen in a long time.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, in the large majority of it. Because what I will say to you, when Dingle were 6 points ahead with 8 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go actually, they were 6 points ahead, and they made 5 substitutions in that time. If Paul Ganey was really, really struggling at that stage, he would have come off in that last 5 minutes because they had a 6 point lead. So the fact that
you would leave him on, no matter what.
No, you wouldn't. Not if there was a doubt and they're 6 points ahead. And
if they were 6 points down, would he be left out?
And they think we're talking about the scenario that unfolded.
Yeah,
they were 6 points up. They weren't expecting the close shave that they got at the finish of the game. They took off Conor Ganey. Are you telling me that
maybe it was a mistake to leave Paul Ganey on?
I don't think so.
They allowed McCarry back into it.
I don't think
he wasn't there to follow Mike Breen.
I don't think that's anything to do with it.
Mike Breen had a huge impact in the last 5 minutes.
I wouldn't agree with you.
I think Murt Murphy had been on Paul for most of the second half.
Yeah.
Does anyone agree with me? No.
No. I think, in fairness to Dingle, if there was an injury to Paul Ganey, the way they've managed their injuries throughout the campaign, I think Paul would have been pulled ashore. But he wasn't, and I think
clearly was.
I think it was a masterstroke by Dingle, because you see Paul Ganey out on the sideline, 21 metres out. Do you leave him on his own? No, you got to put someone with him.
Yeah.
And I think that was, and they were confident that Conor Ganey, Mark O'Connor, Billy O'Connor, these guys, Dylan, they did the business then.
Yeah. So he wouldn't even take a close-in free. You'd leave it to Conor.
Well, I think there was a bit of a discussion for the last one. Conor kicked with the left leg. It was a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
And he came out to take it after the consultation, and it was proved the right decision because he kicked it over the bar.
Yeah. Right, okay. Clive, talking about next Sunday, Stacks, is this a kind of a free hit, if you like? They have talent, they have underage talent. I mean, if even the extended panel, some of the names like that are in there, Dylan Casey's gone travelling. Noah Townsend, he was playing with Mount Hawk last year. Sean O'Brosnan was a Kerry minor. Luke Chester was a Kerry minor. Finan Ryan, Sean Heaslip, Conor Killian Litchfield, they'd be on the bench anyway, the first 30 of most teams. So, 221s won, and a lot of these players, you say, have worn the jersey. But do you think that they're ready now to conquer the county?
I suppose they're a bit like Crokes in the regard that they always believe they're going to win the county championship, and they'll always have the expectation that they're going to be winning the county championship. So, this is a free shot for them. To me, they probably are a year ahead of maybe where they thought they'd be, but I don't think they'll look at it as a free shot. They'll look at it as another county championship. They'll, their chests will be out. It's their right to, if they perform, that's where they believe they belong. So I wouldn't say, it's go up lads and have a free shot at it, even though, look, they are young, and they're going to be around for, just read off the names there, they're going to be around for a good while, years to come. Again, it is a hard job keeping lads happy, but they have great lads within the club. I know we're speaking about the great job Darragh Long has done. It's the likes of Colin Mangan, Tim McMahon, Michael Lynch, Aidan Connor there with the C team. They're the guys who are bringing all these guys through and following up that guys don't fall off the radar and they get lost to the club in general. These guys are doing fantastic work in the background. They'll be there Sunday mornings and they follow these players through to make sure they stay within the system. And it is hard to believe that they took 2 bites to come out of intermediate and now they're here in the county final and here on merit. But no, I don't think Stacks will look at it as a free shot, and it's next year will be our turn. They'll be hell-bent on winning this.
Stacks will look at it that we've 13 county senior titles and Dr. Crokes have 14, and this is a chance to level it up and go top of the Roll of Honour again. Because as Clive said, that's in their DNA, like Dr. Crokes. They feel they should be on top of the Roll of Honour. They feel they should be winning county championships. It's not a free hit for them. John is definitely right, though. I feel there is more pressure on Dingle because of the fact that they've been so close. It's a bit like the Mid-Kerry scenario, and Mid-Kerry possibly felt after knocking out Dr. Crokes themselves, and with East Kerry gone, that the door had really opened ajar wider than it ever had opened for them, and they still couldn't get through it. So there's no guarantees either way, even for Dingle, that this opportunity will be taken as well, because Stacks have that belief, and you wouldn't call it arrogance, but you'd call it an assuredness that this is the position that we should be in.
And they have a confidence that youth brings as well.
Yeah.
They know there's no inhibitions. They haven't been there before in a county final. They haven't lost one. They have been so successful underage with the school colleges and with under 20s and minors playing with Kerry. And these guys, if they miss a chance, they go again. Whereas, more experienced players, it's a big pressure build up. Yeah. Ronan Shannon is a very underestimated player as well. He's captain of the team. You could see him the last day. He was back in the backs. He was doing a lot of talking. He was organising. You need the leaders, and they have them. But I thought Paddy Lane's situation the last day, where they played him, bringing out Dan Murphy out of his comfort zone inside, and the fact that Dan followed him, but Paddy was outside as a playmaker, and he's a kicker, as we know. But it was a very astute move by the management team.
And he was outstanding.
Yeah, I think one question mark maybe with the Stacks is, and from their county final win in 2021, they've 2 starters.
Yeah.
Probably starting the next day.
They were relegated the following year, weren't they? After winning it.
Yeah. So, how will these young lads react to a county final?
Yeah.
It's going to be full house in Tralee. We know that the Stacks fans will come in droves, they'll march up, there'll be big expectation, big hype. A lot of those lads won't have experienced that type of an occasion. They have obviously played in under 21 finals, but it wouldn't have been as big a crowd or as a big a fanfare. There'll be huge fanfare surrounding this on Sunday with the Stacks, and how it will affect the majority of the players who haven't experienced it before. I'm sure they've all been part of the marches and been in with the crowds in the last time they were probably there. But it's just to see how it'll be interesting to see how they will react to that.
Yeah, Dara told us last night at the Times that the different individuals on the team had been, involved as mascots or going around in the parade, and now they're in this team, etc., going through the years from 2012 on, and even back to 1994. I think, did he say he was there himself that year? I think he was, possibly. as an onlooker as opposed to a player. I will say in retaliation to what you said about you know the on the shot to nothing or whatever, and look, they want to join Crokes on top. There's in hurling, Ballyduff, very strong hurling team.
Yeah.
25 wanted to, you know, they had 2 bites of the cherry over the last 2 years to beat Abbeydorney and join Kilmiley on top of. It doesn't necessarily follow, because you are like Stacks are traditional, as they were telling us last night. A senior team, Greg Horn was saying that's what they want. No disrespect to anybody else, but they want to be there on top of the pile as often as they can, and they want to be competing for the big prizes. But it doesn't follow because you're in a final that will actually happen this year. It's going to happen, obviously. Mark O'Connor, discuss. Came into this game. I thought maybe early doors he was adjusting, but my goodness, what a second half that man had.
Yeah, he certainly was adjusting for large periods of the first half. And in general, Dingle, they weren't really at the races for the first 20 minutes. Like, Mid-Kerry were dominant. They were 8 points to 2 ahead. They were in a really good position. But slowly but surely, he got his bearings. And when it came to who was the most influential players in the second half of the game, when the match was in the melting pot, Mark O'Connor put his hands up above almost all and sundry. Like, when John was making his choice for the club or man of the match, and Conor Gainey got it, could easily be Mark on the way that he played that second 30 minutes. His fielding, 2 or 3 massive kickouts in the closing 5 minutes or so, which were huge. His distribution, while it took him a while, he soon settled down, and he can play a perfect pass. He has good vision. He has good composure in possession, but he's such experience. Like, he's played massive games. Like, he's played All-Ireland minor finals here, but he's played grand finals for the Geelong Cats, including this year. Like, now, and they came off a heavy hammering against Brisbane Lions. Like, so it's huge credit due to him that he's here and he's putting in a performance like he did last weekend. I think his battle with Joe O'Connor, and I'm pretty sure he will be given the job of tagging, as the Aussies call it, tagging Joe O'Connor. It will have a huge bearing on the result of this game. Whoever comes out on top. Joe O'Connor has scored 1 goal and 8 points in the last 2 matches, all from play. Like, that's phenomenal from a midfielder. Like, forwards are not scoring that. So Dingle do have to take special concern for Joe O'Connor. It's as simple as that. And Ben Murphy as well in the middle of the park. And if you want someone to do a man-to-man marking job on an outstanding player in the other team, Mark O'Connor is one of the players you will certainly be considering for that job.
That's Aussie rules now as opposed to Gaelic football.
Did you
The
not?
tackle is different.
Did you not see how well
Tackle is different.
the Mid-Kerry midfield partnership and the surrounding players, Liam Smith, Ronan Murphy,
you
Mike
held them all to
Breen,
the ground.
Sean O'Brien were all considered to be that Dingle wouldn't be able to cope in the middle of the park. Dingle played very smart by having Billy O'Connor kind of play as a wing forward almost. Mark was in the middle with Niall Gainey, and I feel that will be the same tactics they will use at the weekend. And Mark O'Connor will pick up Joe O'Connor, and Niall Gainey, because he's a runner and he's got pace, will be matched up with Ben Murphy.
I think Niall Gainey will take, or Michael O'Donnell will take Mark O'Connor. Will take Joe O'Connor, and I don't agree with your matchups.
Who will take Joe O'Connor?
I think Joe O'Connor and Mark O'Connor would be an absolute suicidal on both sides.
Why?
If they mark up. Well, I think Joe O'Connor's game is not about jumping up in the air for a ball and travelling or passing it off. He's the leader. He's the guy who wants to drive forward, and he has the footballing skills to do it. Mark has been away from football too long to do that. He can grab ball, he can tackle, I agree with you, and he can make a huge contribution to the Dingle, but it won't be the running game. The running game will be done by Niall Gainey, Matthew Flaherty, Thomas Sullivan from the back. They're the guys who will be the running. Mark O'Connor had the hands over his shoulder. He had his hands up like this. He had his hands in his hips after 10 minutes the last day. It's a huge. He's
No, I totally disagree with you.
Well, you always do.
It was about adjusting the last day, though, Murt, in fairness to him, and I thought even in the first half he was feeling his way into the game, but his positional sense was excellent. Mid-Kerry were on top, and he ground his way into the game, and some of his kicking. There was one particular ball in the second half, a 50-yard pass with the outside of the right boot up along in front of the stand. But I think he will be definitely on Joe Connor. And,
do you remember when they played
and if he's not, they're going to be the four midfielders.
What year was that? Clive O'Callaghan hit for years.
I think the last time he picked up a Star.
And that didn't work.
Well, he's very young. He was only a minor. Star was seasoned.
Was that 2016 or 2015?
Mark was still only. I think he was only a first year minor even.
Right,
going back,
okay.
But I think the last day it was evident early in the game. He was keeping it simple. Yeah. He was dishing it off, and I think he made a brilliant turnover in front of the stand. And shortly after that, he took on a shot that he kicked wide. And I think when he was taking on that shot, he was saying to himself, he was comfortable now. He was in the game. Yep. The shot didn't go over, obviously, and it was a wide. But he wouldn't have taken that on if he didn't feel that he was still rusty or still feeling his way into the game. But what that game of football will do for him for next Sunday, is we're going to see an improvement again. Would he start last Sunday? Didn't he start? I was of the view that if they were to get over last Sunday, he'd have to start because it would bring him on a ton for the final. I think that's the way it's going to pan out.
Controversial question, Joe. Should he have started last Sunday, or should he have come in after 15 or 20 minutes? He was taking the place of a fellow who had been playing all year.
Absolutely started. Yeah. No question at all.
Professional?
Absolutely.
No problem with it?
No problem whatsoever.
And I'd say nobody in Dingle have a problem either, Murt, to be fair, because I heard him in the interview afterwards. He's a Dingle man through and through. It's an honour to put on the Dingle jersey. He never forgot where he came from. He grew up with the lads, and the respect in his voice, you could hear it for the Garveys and Tom Sullivan. These guys, he wasn't going to let those guys down, and he certainly didn't.
And one thing again that was very evident was where he positioned himself for the mid-Kerry kickouts. Yeah. He didn't pick up a man. He stood in the centre, and he was so quick getting to the landing zone. By the time the ball had come out, his judgment and the speed to get left or right and be under it by the time the ball had come out. So I don't think we're going to see him lining up, marking a Stacks man for a kick out. He will hold the position, but he will get to the landing area.
Well, that's where I'm coming from with my row with John O'Dowd.
But I think
he won't be following Joe O'Connor around.
Equally, more
he will be marking. He'll be in a space where he can do utmost damage to Stacks, and that's by a kick out from either side, grab it and distribute it. Give it to one of the Garveys, give it to Matthew Flaherty, give it to Tom Sullivan at his shoulder, or Niall Garvey, whatever, and they'll do the rest. Then he's going to play a key role, but it's going to be pitching the 265s in my estimation.
Plus, Murt, you're also forgetting that Dingle made 3 changes before the game last weekend. It wasn't just bringing in Mark O'Connor and leaving a player on the sideline. It was also bringing in.
No,
Conor
I'm not saying
Garvey.
they did that deliberately.
It was also bringing in Conor Garvey and bringing in Aidan O'Connor from the start of the game. So you had
Conor Garvey had played 10 minutes in the previous game.
You had Ned Ryan, Sean Ogmore and Cathal Bambury have been 3 stalwarts of the Dingle team throughout the championship and throughout the club championship. So it was very difficult decisions to leave those 3 players off. So it wasn't just a case of we'll bring in Mark O'Connor and we'll drop a player. They made 3 big calls in the selection of their team, and the result vindicates what they did.
Yeah.
I think they've learned maybe last year. I don't think Conor Garvey started the final. I think they might have held a couple of lads back, and when they kind of came on, the game was maybe gone away from. So I think they've learned from that, and it's a case of their best team is starting, and they'll deal with what has to come on later in the game when they have to.
Last Sunday as well, Dingle, the way they played the game, the ferocity of, say, Matthew Flaherty and the tackle and the work that he does, and he drops back, and then you see Tom O'Sullivan, and there was nobody touching him from mid-Kerry for some reason. He was able to run right through the centre and get up around the arc and then move from there. That's going to be crucial for the Stacks to cut off the running, particularly of Tom O'Sullivan. He's dangerous, isn't he, John?
Tom? Yeah, Tom was the type of player. We said it before. It doesn't matter how long he be out with injuries. When he does come back, he hits the ground running always. He started off with that 1-2 against Nagale, and he's slowly been, as Clive says, like with each week that goes on, he'll be getting a bit better as well. Like I wouldn't say he's hit his full straps so far at all in this county championship, and that's going to be a concern for Austin Stacks, that this could be the day where Thomas Sullivan really ups to the gear. Like he has kind of played, he's been kind of content to play within himself a little bit so far up to now, getting a score when he can get it, but not embarking on too many runs from a deeper position. Still obviously very smart defensively, and still very smart when he gets the ball in possession. He's usually very secure like that. He usually picks the right options when he has the ball in his grasp. But like there is a bigger performance in Thomas Sullivan, and whether we see that this Sunday or not remains to be seen. But yeah, like they've got a lot of players back, like Conor Flannery getting back up to speed, Niall Gainey getting back up to speed. They were all injured as well. Dylan is a big person to discuss for this weekend. He looked very rusty when he came back. Again, slowly but surely, he's been building up. He's been getting 2 points a game the last 2 games. Last year, he got 5 points from playing the final, even in a team that lost. Like, he's another player that could erupt big time on Sunday if he gets the right supply of ball and he's really sharp on his game. So there's a lot of imponderables.
Yeah, the one thing, talking about Dingle again, and I don't want to pick their team for the final, but Cathal Banbury, very strange that he didn't start for me. Now, I know he didn't have the best of quarterfinals, but to me, he's been, when everybody else was out, he was the leader of the attack. And he was doing, I was back when they were playing Milltown, Castlemaine. Now, Paul Gainey came on the second half and kicked 1-8 or something, but Cathal Banbury in the first half kept him in the game. He scored 4 or 5 points. And he has an eye for goal as well. Now, we don't know, like the Stack story earlier, as regards who's training well. They see them. Is he carrying a bit of a knock? He did come on towards the end, all right. But I feel like Cathal Banbury, he must be disappointed, John, for not making the start.
Look, it's a bit like it's a bit like what Clive said about the Austin Stacks scenario. Like Austin Stacks know that they have finishers. They pretty much know already that 4 or 5 of the guys that they're going to be bringing on. Dingle, because of the introductions of Mark O'Connor and Conor Gainey and even Aidan O'Connor into the team last week, they had a better bench. Dingle, they have to keep something in mind, and as Clive says, they mightn't want to leave a Conor Gainey on the bench this time, but they might be damn happy to have a Cathal Banbury or a Ned Ryan or a Micheál Flannery to come on, like to play, or a Sean O'Moran. So I think Cathal Banbury will be sprung again. If you look through that way they set up last week, I don't see them making too many changes, if any, from what worked in that match. Tyg de Bruin does a great job in the role that he plays.
As well.
He was winning kickouts as well. He was winning primary possession, which you wouldn't expect from Tyg de Bruin. And I know he hasn't chipped in with a score or 2 last week, but he can as well. So, like, you're talking about Cathal there. Like, Matthew Flaherty's undroppable.
Yeah.
The way he's been playing in the whole championship, he's been absolutely sensational. Like, he scored 6 points from playing the 3 matches, but he gets back and you can see him as the last man. He could be inside in the full back line 5 minutes later. Like, his energy is infectious. And
he's close to the edge as well.
Yeah, and you need that as well. But his enthusiasm goes around the whole team, I would imagine. He's just that type of character.
He's a character.
So, like, you're talking about Cathal there, but then you have Conor, Dylan and Matthew. Like, they're not going to be dropped.
Yeah. What about Billy O'Connor, John Kennedy? I mean, he must have thought all his Christmases came at the one time, or all the boat trips out to the Blasket. He must have thought that he was full of Yanks 6 or 7 times a day. Because, I mean, he got the 2 points, and then he comes along, and, he was the guy people were probably saying in advance, if Mark O'Connor plays, Billy is probably the guy who will have to sit down, because of his age. He's 37, I think. Isn't that what they told us last night? I think he's 37, and he's played a lot of football, and he wouldn't be the quickest, and not expected to be at that age. But boy, he was effective, and they need his ruggedness, they need his free spirit at midfield around that area. Does that change now for the final?
No, I don't think so much. I think he's, apart from, it's fine to say he kicked the 2 points, but his work rate, his closing down was unbelievable. And he was in space, but there were 2 great scores. But he was involved in a lot of others as well.
Yeah.
And, he played it wide. He wasn't taken up, that wasn't his fault, but, he used his experience. And it's not all about how fast you can get from A to B, but it's what you do when you get it. And he certainly did it really well the last day. And crucial part of their play, and a vital cog in the wheel, because, like Clive said, I'd expect Mark O'Connor to be playing in the defensive role at the start the next day. He's not going to be up and down the field, but his positional sense the last day, all through, he was there. He was stopping the good quality ball going in when Mid-Kerry were on top, and he was very effective, and he grew into it. But I think that around the middle, they afforded an opportunity then for Niall Gainey to use his pace going forward. And Matthew Flaherty, they created space above, and just on the Cathal Banbury, he was outstanding throughout the club campaign. But if you have a county player, I don't think there's an argument, if he's fit, that he's going to be started, but it just gives you a great option off the bench.
Yeah, okay. Clive, let's turn to Stacks. Starting 15, they made some changes the last day, obviously. And you have Jack O'Shea now, who's getting fitter. He came on as a sub. You have Joey Nagle, who's almost fully fit now. I'd say he got a run he came on as a sub in the quarter final, and he came on as a sub the last day. Has Darragh Long and the selection committee a few headaches on who to pick and who not to pick?
With only a week, no, I don't think so. They're not going to do real training this week. It's recovery, maybe light session, probably Wednesday night. They're not going to be heavy sessions this week. So to get for the lads on the bench to get an opportunity to stake a claim is not going to be there now. Obviously, we know their quality and what they have done, but Stacks, from what we've seen from the club championship to now, it's not what you have done or who you are. It's about what you're doing. And to be fair to the lads who started the games, and the guys coming on then finishing them out, I don't think there'll be any surprises.
Could they spring Ronan Carroll kicked 9 points to the green today, and a couple of 2-pointers, came on the last day, did something very intelligent with the ball, kicked a lovely point. He's got pace.
Yeah.
He's roughly the same age as Ben Murphy, a year younger than Jack Murphy. Same age as, your man is older, Keane Purcell, a bit older than him. But all those lads, they can do a job.
Yeah, I think it'll be the same subs that'll come in. I don't think there'll be any huge surprise from the off. They've trusted the lads the last couple of weeks to start. They've trusted the lads coming on to finish the job. And as I said, if you're a defender there saying, I want to stake a claim, I love to have a cut off someone on Tuesday, Thursday night training, that opportunity really isn't going to be there this week, because it's been week on week, and it's about minding the bodies really for Sunday.
Yeah, I think Stacks will make one change in defence, but I'm not going to tell you who I think it is. Won't reveal anything right now.
I think a big thing about Austin Stacks is, and Dingle as well, like if someone told you at the start of the year that Dingle would get back to the county championship final without Barry Dan O'Sullivan in the middle of the field, and having to find a new fullback after Conor O'Sullivan was ruled out for the whole season, I think that deserves an awful lot of credit. Similarly, if someone told you Stacks would be in the final, and everyone has talked about their backs over the last 4 or 5 years, that was the backbone of the team. But if somebody said to you that Dylan Casey, Jack O'Shea and Joey Nagle, that they would get to the final, and the three of them might not be starting, or in Dylan's case, obviously won't be starting, I think people would have been really, really surprised at that. So I think the players...
Sean Quilter wasn't getting a start.
Are not even getting a run off the bench the last day. Like, if someone like Luke Casey, Niall Fitzmaurice and Owen Carroll in particular, they're the 3 lads that have come into the Austin Stacks defence. They deserve an awful lot of credit. They're nailing down their spots from week to week. And like Joey Nagle and Jack O'Shea are chomping at the bit. Like, they want to start, obviously, this Sunday. Greg Horn wants to start on Sunday at half forward. He's got his brother to try and get the number 11 jersey off as well. There's huge competition for places there. And then, like you mentioned, the Dingle, like with the Cathal Banburys and Then, like Ned Ryan was playing every game, scored a brilliant goal against Nagale. He had to start on the bench last week. He's been a revelation for them this year, coming up from the minor ranks. I know the Austin Stacks players get all the talk, the young blood, but like Dingle, they don't have the same numbers of youth coming through the system. But Ned Ryan was a Kerry minor panellist as well last year, and he's done well, and he's a big physical player too. Like so, it's just a great achievement by both teams. But obviously, nobody will be talking about that by about 3:15 on Sunday afternoon. It's only who wins will dictate everything.
The transformation, John Kennedy, not of your hairstyle now, the transformation of Pot Kittle, sorry John, the transformation of Paddy Lane from being an inside forward, free taker, bossing everybody to underage level, and adjusting now to senior ranks as if he was a mature 25, 26-year-old. The way he was able to come out the last day, obviously it's something they do on the training ground, and be a playmaker and kick the 2-pointer there that Clive mentioned before half-time, which is so important, and Joe Copper passed it to double the lead to 4 points. I mean, what he's done since he's gone to senior rank, it's amazing, and to be in a final now and he'll be a crucial man. Who do you think will mark him from Dingle, I wonder?
It's hard to know, Murt.
It won't be Tom Sullivan anyway, John, sure won't.
It's unlikely, but Paddy is an ultra confident player. He's a kicker, but I think he's the way he's adjusted, and particularly the last I said previously there, he came out around the middle of the field towards the half forward line, winning possession, getting a lot of hits, but taking them and moving on. But he's not afraid to have a shot, and I think that's good in a forward always, that if it goes wide, you lift the head and you can't do anything.
Flannery, would you consider him?
Probably Conor Flannery.
He could take it.
But
if he plays out again in that playmaking role around 45, you'd imagine just for size and his feisty nature, Conor Flannery would be perfect for that kind of a job on Paddy Lane. Now, if they decide to change it around a bit and he stays closer to goal, I don't think it would be Conor in that situation, because they'll want him kind of around centre half back where he's kind of bedded in this year. But Paddy's a very intelligent footballer. Like we've seen him come out and play that playmaking role before. Like if you go back to the Nagale match in the club championship that Friday night in Killeen, he was inside pretty much for the whole game, inside in the corner, and boxed off by Fergal Barry. Didn't get into the game at all. It didn't suit him. So I thought it was a great ploy by Stacks last week to bring him out, get him to do a lot of the playmaking. And then you can't underestimate Cian Purcell either.
No.
He didn't have probably what he would consider one of his best games last week. He didn't score. He had goals in all the previous 3 championship matches, including the club championship. He could be in line for a big one. And then you have someone like Jordan Kassan, who Clive would probably tell me more about. He's kind of a shoot on sight type of player. He could be very quiet, but he could kick. He could kick 3 points off his left foot.
He's a national sprinter. He's sprinting with his game when he was younger, wasn't it, Clive? A serious pace. I mean, he's injured, so he's inside in the corner. But if he was 100% fit without the injuries that he's had to suffer 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, he'd be the quickest player on the pitch.
There's great movement up front by the Stacks though. They interchange.
Yeah.
And like Clive said, they have pace. Very hard to mark pace because...
We haven't mentioned Clive, Daniel Kirby. I've been impressed with him all through the year with the under-20s, with his own club team. And now I see him elevated to senior. I mean, I think he played last year as well, didn't he? Yeah, he did. But he's a serious operator too, and he's a 2-point shooter.
Great kicker from distance, off either foot, and he's been that way all the way up through the underage ranks. Great fetch for a ball as well. Probably has been, maybe was quiet last week, but he's very young. We're talking about these guys, they are very young, and they're probably not going to put 3 and 4 consistent games at senior level together. He could be due a big one. He cannot be left unmarked, and he does love the 2-pointer. The further out it is, the better for him, because he's so accurate, and he's such a good long accurate kick. He's a guy who could put over 3 or 4 2-pointers
No bother.
No bother in the game. It's just, again, one of the lads, I suppose, and he's not alone, is how they'll react now to the big day on Sunday.
And the drums and the bongo music and whatever it is, and the marching down from the top of Rock Street, I think from the clubhouse at 12 o'clock, they're meeting up and coming all the way down.
I was just going to ask, have we seen a player take command of a county championship at 18 years of age in a midfield position the way Ben Murphy has done it in a long, long time? You're talking maybe of even looking back to the days when Darragh O'Shea and like Seamus Moynihan might have been coming through at 18 years of age. Obviously, David Clifford has done it like in an inside role.
Yeah.
But like, I'm thinking about it a lot over the last week or so. The easiest thing for Darragh Long and for Austin Stacks after the 5-week break, and they wanted to play Ben Murphy, was to put him at number 5 and say, that's your regular position. That's where you've been playing all along, underage. That's where you played with under 20s. We'll settle you in there. You know, it's wing back. It's not as pressured as in the middle of the park with Joe O'Connor. But he's taken to it like a duck to water. It's been phenomenal, really, to see what he's done over the last 3 matches. There was talk of him potentially being injured last weekend and not playing. He got through the full game. The longer went on, a bit like Mark O'Connor.
Yeah.
I think he played within himself in the first half, Ben. But in the second half, with Joe, and they have such a brilliant partnership together now, like putting up big scores. But like for an 18-year-old, and obviously we can talk about it on another occasion, the probability of losing him to the AFL for a couple of years.
We had himself and Mark O'Connor midfield for Kerry.
For a couple of seasons at least. It is
to Mark O'Shea.
It is a huge blow to Kerry football for the next couple of seasons, but like nobody can or would begrudge a player the opportunity to play a professional sport. But just while we have him, enjoy him, because he is the makings of a very special talent.
Yeah, right, lads. We've chewed the fat there, back and forth. Now
we haven't really discussed who's going to mark Paul Ganey.
If you want to discuss that, who do you think is going to mark Paul Ganey?
I just think it's very interesting, because if there is any doubt over whether Paul is 100% fit or not going into this game on Sunday, would Dingle be tempted, John, in a change of tack? Like he has been doing that playmaking role at centre half forward and dropping back even into his own half back line, winning breaks, pretty much trying to do everything for Dingle. Would you be tempted to go back to the Paul Ganey heyday of inside full forward, drop in a few high bombs on top of him, change the focal point of the Dingle attack and put an extra doubt and pressure on what could be a young Austin Stacks full back line?
I don't think they will, John, being honest. I think that, you know, the formation
that's
they have...
injury permitting.
Injury permitting, yeah, exactly. I think Matthew Flaherty is withdrawn out the field, playing the role that we know he does. You have Dylan and Conor inside. It's about getting the quality ball in, and that's where Paul comes into. And if he has any niggle, or if there's any doubt, would he be better off to be out the field with if he's in the full forward line, you have to be pace. You're coming out to the ball, you're being marked tightly. You can create the space outside. You get on the ball and you give the ball in. But not so sure has he.
Ronan Shannon would be the one I would put on him if he's inside, or if they decide to play Joey Nagel. I put Joey on him. Joey's quick, he's strong, he's big. He'd compete with him in the air. I wouldn't put Heinrich on him, because Armin needs, like the Mike Green scenario, I think Stacks are better with he coming from the half back line along with Owen Carroll. I think they're better 3-prong, 4-prong when you throw Joe and Ben, and that's an attacking force then. That's an interesting one, John, that you'd bring up right at the end of our discussion. Fair play to you.
Just on that, I think if there is any slight doubt about him injury-wise, that he'll always remain as the 3 up, so he won't be chasing a man back. He won't be caught to chase an arm back, or he won't be caught to chase. You did that in the olden days before the new rules, didn't you? You were never asked to chase anyone. You were always the 3 up. Voluntary stayed up, yeah.
But you voluntary stayed up.
I think he'll be.
There were times you were
he'll make sure that he's not having to chase back a Stacks defender, and he'll hold as one of the three up if there is any doubt about him injury-wise.
Right, decision time. John O'Dowd, you have thought long and hard about this. You drove through
I haven't
rain.
actually.
You drove through rain and snow and wind and everything to get here with us. By the way, we were here hosting this in the Council Rally's clubhouse. Very appropriate when we're discussing Stacks. And this is not going out live, so by the time I have said this, I'm gone. So Council Rally's would like to thank them for giving us the room to record this podcast, and I'm sure they'll be back again shortly. But they will have to suffer while their noisy neighbours are competing on Sunday. So are the noisy neighbours going to beat Dingle, or Dingle going to win it? And you're not allowed to sit in the fence. You must have an opinion. As the top journalist, I'm reading everywhere in Kerry.
I think it has the makings of a fascinating encounter. I don't consider there to be much between the two teams. It will be small margins that could decide it. It could be a lucky goal, a moment of magic, a ball hitting off the post and rebounding, a breach. There's so many things now that go into a game, especially with the new rules, that is very hard to call. I think Austin Stacks have more pace throughout the side. They have a better subs bench as well. They probably have the most informed player of the two teams in Joe O'Connor at this moment in time. They have less pressure on them, but I'm going to go for the romantic option. I'm going to go for Dingle. I'm going to say that it just might be a year too soon, potentially, for Austin Stacks, that they might have to lose one before they win one, and they will win the Bishop Moynihan Cup in the next couple of seasons. I think I'm pretty confident of that fact. Maybe Sunday, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me in any shape or form. I just feel that, I think John kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't want to say there's last chance saloon for Dingle, because you never know. We might have said that last year, that there was last chance saloon and they got themselves back to a final again. But I do think that this kind of has to be their moment. And even though you have your doubts, Murt, I do think the introduction of Mark O'Connor and the role that I expect him to play in on Sunday, even if he doesn't do a whole lot himself in the game, if he can do that one job that I feel that he might be given, it could play a big part in the game. And I just feel maybe that some of the Austin Stacks players, as Clive said, it might be just tricky with the atmosphere. Some will handle it brilliantly, some might struggle. The Dingle players are all there really from last year. They know the hurt that they have. And if the three Garveys can all line out as close to 100% fitness as possible, I just feel that they might get over the line by 2 points.
That's the most long-winded answer I've ever got to who's going to win. You make cases for both sides and then you come down and Dingle. A bit shorter, John Kennedy. Because he'll blame me for this going on too long after.
Yeah, it's an intriguing battle, Morton. There's so many imponderables, we'll call it, about the game. The talent on both sides. I think the inexperience of Stacks, at this level, this is a huge game for both sides. But I think Dingle, an incredible achievement. So many close shaves over the last number of years. To come back again, the management team made a few changes as well, which probably made a difference to them, the backroom team. Mark O'Connor's influence is going to be huge. And I'd agree with John. I think if the three Garveys, I'll expect a bigger performance from Paul the next day. I think the three Garveys, you have three inter-county forwards in your six forwards. You have Matthew Flaherty, who's playing really great stuff. I'd expect Dingle to win it by a few points. I think it'll be a real battle, but right. I think the experience they have, the midfield battle is going to be crucial. But if it comes down to forwards, I think Dingle have the scoring with the Garveys up front to share it.
Clive?
Yeah, I think Dingle suffered a lot in the last couple of years. They lost the Munster final on penalties to Castlehaven when they probably should have won the game in normal time. Lost the county final last year, started very well. Then Crokes hit them for sucker punches of goals, never recovered. They're vastly improved. I spoke about that 2021 quarter final. They're a vastly improved team. And I wouldn't say, last chance saloon in that we're saying it is the same players, but the age profile, there's none of them really coming down over the hill. You'd still expect Paul to be there next year and the year after. And you have Mikey Gainey probably on the bench who's, very, very experienced. But I think I just come down and decided Dingle just to do the business. I think that hunger, the hurt, and what they've put in over the last 5 or 6 years, that they'll have their day in the sun on Sunday. But we're Stacks to win it. It wouldn't be a surprise. Look, we all know it has the makings of a fascinating game and a great occasion as well. I think Tralee hasn't seen, maybe was it Kerry and Armagh March was the last time there was a big game in Tralee. It's going to be a huge occasion for Tralee, and the word also to the referee who will have a big part to play. Sean Joy. It's his first
huge day for Sean.
It's his first county final. He's been around the block reffing for years, so it's his first county final refereeing, and we'd want to wish him the best of luck and hope that it's one that the players we won't be talking about referees or anything after that. It'll be one on the field by the better team in the day. I just think Dingle will shade it.
I'm from the patron saint of referee admirers.
I'm actually very surprised that we've all come down on the Dingle side. I was really thinking it was going to be maybe 2-2, so I presume you're going to go for Austin Stacks.
Well, I backed Austin Stacks. I have a confession to make at 8-1 when they're available at 8-1, and I am going to stick with my original hunch that they were dark horses. I do accept, I think if Paul Gainey, Conor Gainey and the Gaineys take fire, Mark controls midfield, and Tom Sullivan and Conor Flannery and the boys, hold Paddy Lane and Cian Purcell to low scores, then Dingle will win it. But no, I think it's been the year of upsets with so many things happening, even to last Sunday when you see Man United beating Liverpool. In all fairness, it has been a year when, look, the Americans were supposed to destroy Europeans in the Ryder Cup. That didn't work out. There's been so many things have happened. I could list 20 of them. And I think so. It could be Black and Amber normally is Crokes, but this year the Black and Amber could be the Rockies. Now, does it please me to say that? I'm not going to tell you. But I'm just saying my hunch is that Stacks could win it. And I have backed that with a bet, but a long time ago. Both look, I accept that it's a very close final. Could go either way. Depends on weather, could be a factor. Wind could play a factor. As you say, the referee, decision, penalty given, a 2-pointer that was, whatever. Things can happen during the game. Lady luck. So, all things considered, I'm going to differ from the three of you, which doesn't surprise you, really, does it?
But I don't think it's going to be, like as Clive said, I don't think it's a surprise, or I don't really consider this game to be favourites against underdogs in any way, shape or form.
The bookies are 4-6, that's odds on. They're odds on Dingle, favourites, although they were telling us last Monday night they were underdogs, and Stacks are 11-8 and 6-4 in a place. Outsiders.
I think it's a 50-50 match.
I think even money would be my bet of each two. I think it's that close. So it's very, very tight. Okay, lads. Now there's something very important happening on Saturday. Hurling for Tim. That's Tim O'Brien. Anybody who's not aware of that, Tim O'Brien was a Kerry minor hurler involved in a very, very bad traffic accident, and he is confined to a wheelchair, and his quality of life, the rest of his life, is all dependent in he getting a house. His mum and dad were looking after him and they have passed. So now his sister and her husband or partner are going to look after him, but they need a house properly fit, etc. So we have a hurling match on in Kilmiley at 3 o'clock on Saturday. It's the Milers Legends against the Delos gang from Clare. But there's so many inter-county players have come. It's wonderful to see how sport rallies around and sport, and Mark Coleman is down. There's Cork players, Anthony Nash. There's Kerry players playing in it as well. There's even an Ardfert player playing in it, and there's a number 31 playing in it. Rob Monaghan is playing in it. However, he got in. In from Australia, he will be playing. So there'll be various auctions going on, and there'll be interviews and different things. And Clubber are carrying the game live. JC will be there with the camera, and there'll be somebody, probably Aussie, down with a helmet on him and protective gear as their slitters flying. And a number of us will go out and help out with. I'd say the commentary of the game won't be the interesting part. It'll be to help with raising some very much needed funds for this cause. And if you look up all the social media that's in it, you'll get the donate button there. And if you can donate anything, it would be greatly appreciated. And join us live on, I suppose, about 2:30 or something on Saturday in Kilmiley, Clubber, live on Clubber. Free of charge, I think, as well, JC. You shake your head? Yeah, he nods his head. He's not sure, but when he nods his head, he's pretty sure, or else he's just tired. So that'll be on for Clubber, on Clubber on Saturday, and we hope you'll join us then. I suppose all that remains to be said is the best to look to both teams, supporters. They really get worked up and excited about it, and management teams and players, and we hope that every player who can be fit will be fit and will be able to go out and do his best, and may the best team win at the end of the day. Good luck to Dingle and good luck to Austin Stacks. Thanks to my panel and John O'Dowd for driving in such conditions and coming here and being so happy about it. It was a pleasure to have you.
And I think, Murt, from all of us here in the Kingdom Calling podcast, extend our deepest sympathy to the friends and family of the Tipperary senior football manager, Philly Ryan, on his tragic loss last weekend. John knew him well, and Tipperary football has had several heartbreaking moments over the last couple of years, and indeed Tipperary hurling as well with Dylan Quirk, and we'd just like to extend our sympathy to everyone in the Premier County.
Well said indeed, John. There's a lovely piece in the Examiner by, I think it's Shane Donovan, of his son today, talking about his dad from under 6 up, Shane, and the girls talking about the dad and mom. And if you read that and don't shed a tear, well, then you're not normal or not human. So if you look it up, it's online, it's up free to charge, not for subscribers only. You have to be in the paper tomorrow. It's well worth to read. And we often worry and wonder about missed points and wides and games and football and hurling at the end of the day. It's not life. We can be back next week and play our next year and try again. So it puts things in perspective for all of us. So thanks, John Kennedy. Thanks for making it through the traffic. I know you were in a traffic jam from Manor to here. It took you 20 minutes, and you always give out about that. Clive, you turned up at the wrong venue, but it wasn't your fault. And now you're here on Strand Road. So we wish you well, and we wish you well any decision you may take on your future as well, by the way. To John C. O'Shea, who came all the way from Kilnamartyr, his beloved son beaten today. So he's going to go home now and analyse that video and give it to the management. And those boys will be doing 100 lines or 200 laps tomorrow. So that's it for now. Best of luck to both teams in the final. We'll sign off, and we'll talk to you hopefully post-final for a final Kingdom Calling of the year.